righty, welcome everyone to City Council meeting. I am Pam Cotter. I would like to excuse Councilman Gary Harakasi. Everybody else is here. Diane, Rosalba, Kat, the mayor, GL, and Brooke. Thank you for all being here. I appreciate it. We will start out with the pledge, and my friend Bob Van Bibberset would love to do the pledge for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, we need to approve of our minutes. Are there any changes from the council members? If not, I will take an approval of those.
I move that we approve the council minutes of, I'm looking at here, for the council meeting of July 5th, 2022.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. There are no special recognitions this evening, so we will go to citizens' comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step to the microphone over here, state your name, city of residence, and when you are done, please fill out a form and get it to our executive director, Jennifer Kennedy, before or after you speak. So those that would like to speak, come ahead now.
That's quicker than I've ever gotten to public comment before.
Right to it.
My name is Lawrence Horman. I'm a resident in general of Murray City. Usually when I give my address, just say wherever I happen to be standing at the moment, because I come up and speak about homeless issues. And I'm going to jump ahead of Kat Martinez tonight a little bit. I had a thought coming in, which only slightly changed after our conversation, that there needs to be, I have discovered in my goings around that generally the cities are the ones that are most capable of doing something to help out the homeless. The states tend to provide funding. The county tends to try and stay out of the state and the city's business in such respects as those particular issues. And they make recommendations, they organize coalitions, things like that, but they have no effective power from what I can tell. And it is generally the cities that have the most power to do something effectively in their immediate vicinity within the boundaries for the homeless. And there was, apparently, it has now been dissolved because it was temporary, an inclusion task force that included the impoverished. And it is my personal request and recommendation that for the continuing assistance of not just the impoverished, but especially for the impoverished, that there be a consistent, regular, continuing task force to address such issues. Inclusion has to include the impoverished. We are, as I apologize, I can't remember the other terms right now, but just a sidelined a community, part of the community, as many others are. And the poverty, homelessness in its various forms, in its many forms, affects people of all skin colors, religions, creeds, and believe it or not, even income levels, because people can lose an income and be on the street in an instant from any position in life. And the most effective thing that the cities can do is have a task force set up to help catch them when they fall and help them get back on their feet. That's it, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence.
I'll lower this a little bit. Good evening. My name is Katie Gardner, and I am a resident of Murray.
Could
I
you
just
state your address, please?
5312 South Baker Street, 84107.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. I appreciate having the opportunity tonight to speak with you and just say a few words in support of the resolution to approve the recommendations from the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force. I was honored to be a part of the ad hoc Diversity and Inclusion Task Force over the past year, both as a longtime Murray resident and also as an HR professional. I jumped at the opportunity to give back to a community that helped to raise me and in a capacity that matched both my professional experience and something that I am personally passionate about. I've been in the HR profession for almost 2 decades. So over the course of the past few years, the topics of inclusion, diversity, and equity have come across my desk frequently and have become to the forefront of part of my job. As I mentioned before, I'm a longtime Murray resident. I actually am born and raised here. I went to McMillan Elementary, Hillcrest Junior High. My husband and I both graduated in 2001 from Murray High School. We moved away slightly and then jumped at the opportunity to come back to Murray as soon as the opportunity became available because I love this city and I love this community. And I support the resolution for the recommendations to be approved as a community member, as a task force member, and as someone who's part of a underrepresented group, being that of a female. As wonderful as Murray City is, we always have room for improvement, and there is always an opportunity for us to do better. And that's what lies at the heart of what the recommendations the task force made is trying to get Murray in a place where we are better than we are right now. Our once very small and quaint community is getting bigger, and we are welcoming and asking and inviting people to come into the community, to see what we have to offer, to live here, to shop here, to experience the events that we have. And the best way for us to do that is to make sure that our community is as safe and comfortable and available to as many people as we can, to make sure that any events that we're holding are as safe and comfortable and available to as many people as we can. The recommendations that the task force has made, by and large, don't require monetary support. We are asking for some broadening of practices or policies or programs that are already currently in place. And we're asking for the recommendations for the ability to be more transparent. The Reverend Jesse Jackson said that inclusion is not a matter of political correctness. It's a matter of opportunity for growth. So I thank you for giving Murray the opportunity to grow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Miller. I live at 724 Tripp Lane in Murray. And I am also in favor of the Murray, whatever the motion is when it comes to it about hiring an equity director and a council, having an overseeing of a council, equity council. I support this move because I think it signals to the business world and to our communities that Murray is an inviting and welcoming place to work, live, and thrive, and that will bring out the best in all of us. So that's it. Thank you very much. I totally support this.
Thank you, Jessica. And don't forget to fill out your forms and get them to Jennifer Kennedy, please. Thank you. Okay, I see there's no one else, so we will close that and we will go to our consent agenda. Mayor Hales will be presenting 2 of them today. Consider a confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Dana Dimitrick to the History Advisory Board for a 3-year term beginning September 2022 to expire September 2025. Do you want to do both of them at the same time, Mayor?
If that's
Sure.
okay, yeah.
Sure. And consider confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Arlen Jensen to the History Advisory Board. I hope I'm saying these names right. For a 3-year term beginning 2022 to expire September 2025. Mayor?
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. And Dana and Erin, would you both stand, please? We had, Doug, Tammy, and I had the wonderful opportunity to meet with them, and both qualified. Let me tell you, great people. This is so fun when you get to meet people like this, because really they have Murray history. How do I say this? Deep in their veins. So they're excited about it, and we are honored to have you here, and we appreciate your acceptance of this. And without further ado, we would ask that the council confirm this appointment.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt this consent agenda this evening?
I will move to consider the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Dana Dimitrich and Arlen Jensen. Is that correct? Erlen. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
To the History Advisory Board for 3-year term beginning September 2022 and expire in 2025.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Brooke?
Aye.
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 Thank you so much. It's official. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Would they like to come to the podium and say a few words or not? Or
It's up to you guys. Do you want to?
you're more than welcome.
Come on,
I
Dana.
would love to
Look
hear
at-
a little bit of a history of,
Let me tell you, I know Dana wants to come up and say something. Look at her. How are you?
I would just like to say thank you, especially to Murray City. I think it's great how you allow private citizens to give input into the functions within the city government and recreation and history and all the humanities and whatnot. So I just want to say thank you very much. I look forward to serving. I served for Parks and Rec, and this is going to be a great endeavor also. So I'm very appreciative again. Thank you.
welcome. We're very excited. Oh, good. We're going to hear.
Didn't realize I was going to have to do this, but oh well. I am so excited to be involved in this. I have family roots that go all the way back to Murray's beginnings.
Oh, wow.
And so I love Murray. And I grew up in Murray, and I appreciate that I'm going to be able to do this. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, both of you, for accepting this appointment. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedules into doing this for the citizens and for Murray. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate that as a council. Thank you. Okay, so we don't have any public hearings. So now we are on to business item number 1. We are going to consider a resolution approving the recommendations from the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force by Council Member Kat Martinez, who will be presenting this evening. Kat?
I think we're okay. It was close. Thank you. All right. All right, before we get into the resolution language, I just wanted to do sort of an overview of the work of the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Task Force, what the task force was, why it was created, and the hopes of the resolution moving forward. So first off, our policy should reflect our values. And for me, those values are equity, inclusion, and access for all Murray residents, employees, that everyone feels like they have an equal part in our community and access to it. So that's really the heart of this work. Equality means treating everyone the same, and equity means treating everyone fairly, meaning everyone has the tools and access that they need When we have these conversations, sometimes there can be this feeling that we're angry at or we're blaming that tall person for being able to see over the fence. And that is absolutely not what equity work is about. It is about objectively observing a situation and noticing who has barriers to access and who needs more tools or resources for them to have that same access. But it is not about blame, and it is not about making anyone feel bad. It's about making sure that everyone can enjoy the same opportunities. This overview is taken from our original resolution to create the task force. So I just wanted to review it today. And that is the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Task Force was established to research and examine the relationship between the community at large and marginalized and underrepresented communities within the context of city policies, practices, and programming to provide feedback to foster mutual understanding and respect among all members of the city. This ad hoc task force's recommendations are designed to encourage inclusion and to discourage prejudice and discrimination against marginalized communities, including any person, group, or any other status protected by law on account of age, race, creed, color, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, national origin, ancestry, sex, or disability. From there, the task force had two primary goals. And those goals were to increase access to services for all residents by identifying and removing barriers, and to improve the level of inclusion and safety all residents experience at city and community events. So that was the starting place of the task force. Sort of a timeline of our work. In January of 2021 is when I first presented the idea of a task force to the City Council and asked to create this ad hoc task force. This task force was created to answer the question which was being asked at the time, and that question was, are we meeting the needs of all of our residents? Are we a welcoming, inclusive community? Or could we improve a little bit? And that or doesn't mean the other part's not true. It just means, could we do better? Could we make people feel even more included? Could we remove even more barriers? But I do want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the awesome work that's already happening in this city, because I think it's really important to note that this doesn't mean that equity work isn't already happening. A shout out to Public Works that has a new program to survey sidewalks to make sure that they are replacing or repairing sidewalks in an equitable way. It's a great new program. I'm always excited about unitary cushioning for parks. Our Parks Department does an awesome job of making sure that when playgrounds are replaced, that it is accessible playground cushioning that is used. So we're already doing a lot of really great things. But the question was, are we doing everything we can? And are there marginalized communities? Are there people in the community who feel like there are still some gaps, like we could do better? So that was the question that we asked in January. The task force was created. Applications were opened in February. In March, we started doing interviewing. The response to the applications was really amazing. There was really this huge response from the community that they wanted to be involved, that they wanted to participate. That was really neat to see. We had our first meeting in May of 2021, and we met once a month for that year up until just this last July. In those meetings, we came together and we talked about different experiences people had as residents, as people working in the community, where they felt like there were blocks to access that they had encountered, struggles they had, or things to celebrate that we were doing well. I want to take a moment to introduce our task force members. Our task force members included Mindy Ball, Katie Gardner, Daniel Haas, Jocelyn Mascarenhas, Sarah Pickett, Justin Powell, Brian Prettyman, Jaleel Roberts, Jessica Lucero Miller, and when Jessica went to the library board, Sherry Van Bibber took that seat. If you're here today, will you stand so we can thank you for your work, our task force members? Thank you. Just want to recognize them for coming every month and sharing their personal perspectives, but also the huge amount of professional expertise that all of these people brought from the different places that they work. To give just an idea of the diversity of the task force, we had 5 women, 4 men, 3 people of color, 3 nonprofit employees, 2 immigrants, 2 members of the LGBTQ plus community, 1 school district employee, an HR specialist, a state employee, and a chaplain. And those are just some of the different identities and professions of the people in the group, but just to give sort of a cohesive look at the broad perspective that we had present. And all members live and or work in Murray. So I'm just so grateful for what they brought to the process. The primary takeaway of every conversation we had when we said, well, you know, this might be helpful or this might be helpful, everything came back to needing someone to lead that work within the city, to be that primary person wearing the hat of the equity director who is driving that work. So the primary takeaway from this task force is that for the city to appoint an equity director. And that person, their role would be to research, to educate, and to implement policy. I mentioned that the city's already doing a lot of really awesome things, and some things are very department specific and will always be specialized. But there's a lot of things that are experienced across all departments that are, an example that I'll use that's just very specific is social media or anything that's going out on the internet. There are best practices out there to make sure that anything you put on social media is accessible to someone with a screen reader. So if someone who's blind is accessing your social media, they can access everything you're putting out there, from videos to images to text. And that's something that is not department specific. So for that, this role would be the research, what are the best practices, creating a user-friendly, you know, one-pager or template of here's what you do, here's what to look out for. And so the idea is to also take the burden of all that extra research and expertise from department heads when it doesn't have to be specialized for their areas. For this, I'm going to pull up the resolution. I was going to ask you to print it, and then I was like, no, I'm paperless. I'm going to hold two devices. I've got it. Thank you. So the actual resolution, which I'll read now, is a resolution approving the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Advisory Task Force recommendations. Whereas on January 19th, 2021, the City Council established the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Advisory Task Force to research and examine the relationship between the community at large and marginalized and underrepresented communities within the context of city policies, practices, and programming, in order to provide feedback that will help foster mutual understanding and respect among all members of the city. And whereas diverse backgrounds, perspectives, and abilities contribute to the health, welfare, and economy of the city. And whereas over the course of the last year, the task force met regularly to advise the City Council on efforts to incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion into policies, practices, and programming provided by the city. And whereas the City Council wants to recognize the work and thank the members of the task force for its recommendations. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Murray City Council as follows. 1, it does hereby recognize and thank the members of the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Advisory Task Force for its work and recommendations over the past year. The task force recommendations attached hereto are accepted by the City Council. 3, the City Council Executive Director shall submit the recommendations to the Mayor for his consideration and implementation of the principles embodied in the recommendations. 4, pursuant to 4.3 of the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Advisory Task Force Governance Charter, the task force is hereby terminated and disbanded. And 5, the resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. So that's the language of the resolution. Before I sit down and turn it back over to the council, I just wanted to thank the mayor's office for all the conversations we've had. When I practiced this earlier, I said it lots of times, but then I got nervous. But the mayor has been an amazing partner through this process of just really supporting the work from before being mayor on the council, supporting the start of the task force. And I just want to acknowledge and recognize that. And just thank you for being a partner in this equity work and in good faith and knowing that this amazing group of people didn't make recommendations for change because they think the community is bad, but because they love this community and just want more and more people to get everything they can out of it. And I just think that's really beautiful. So I'll come sit down. I'll exit out of there.
Thank you, Kat. Okay, are there any questions for Kat at this time?
No, but will you take comments?
Sure.
Okay.
Questions, comments, anything?
Kat, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the work and also the team and the committee for doing this work. I know it kind of goes unseen. You don't know where it's going to go. And, you know, your time and your efforts are very much appreciated. I do want to say it's, for somebody who looks like me in Murray, it's really hard to understand where your place is in this community. And I grew up with cousins who felt the same way, you know, in this community. So it's really heartening to know that not only somebody that looks like myself, but somebody with the disabilities or any other person of color can find a place, at least starting with this ad hoc team and with Kat's work, and anybody else within the city bounds can say, look, we have something, we have it, it's tangible. Let's move to something better and something more inclusive for our community. And I think at the end of the day, I'm a reflection of that by being elected. Kat's a reflection, her children, her husband. You know, we all have a bigger role, and all of you have created the framework for that role to continue on. So I appreciate the conversations that have been had. I appreciate the work that you guys have done. And I think at the beginning it was kind of like, well, what is this all about? It's kind of like, for me, it was kind of scary. And I'm sure a lot of you coming into it, you didn't really know where it was going to go. And I think you guys have done an amazing job and built an amazing framework. I personally would love to see it continue on and to have an advisory board along with a director and see where we can go from there. So thank you so much.
Okay. There are no more.
Pam, can I say something? You want to go first? Or you want me to?
Oh, I just want to also say thanks, Kat. You did a lot of work on this, and I really appreciate your doing it. So anyway, good job. Okay, Mayor.
Thanks. I thought this was too important to sit at the seat and talk. So first of all, I want to thank all of you that participated on it. And it's been a privilege because I get to see both sides. That this was something I voted for last year, and I believe it was a 5-0 vote. And also, it's interesting because I think I've always felt like I was a compassionate person, but since I was diagnosed with MS in 2005 and had symptoms probably for the past 20 years, I know most people know I spent time in a wheelchair and on a feeding tube. All of a sudden, like I said, I want to say I've always been a compassionate person, but all of a sudden life changed for me. And I became more compassionate, and I didn't realize that was even possible. And so this is, I feel like, a wonderful program. Kat, you've done a phenomenal job with it. When we've had the opportunity to meet in the administration's office, okay, the mayor's office, I can say it. For whatever reason, I always have a hard time saying the mayor's office because that's someone else. But anyway, in the administration office, it was wonderful to be able to visit with Kat. And I was savvy. I know a lot of the people on the task force. And it's just a wonderful thing. And Kat, you've always presented it well. You've been so good to involve us and to make sure that we're aware of most everything. And I just want to thank you for taking that time over this past, 18 months? 18 months. And it's been a wonderful thing. And Doug and Tammy and I up in the mayor's office don't take this lightly. We have been heavily involved with calling around. We've called several cities. We've had big time conversations. I've had conversations with someone who is heavily involved with this and has given me a lot of counsel and direction on this. And so this isn't something that we've just kind of, thought, well, whatever. It's never been a whatever. So I just want to make sure that, as the mayor of this city, that I make that clear to the task force that we appreciate you and the council that has provided this, and we will continue to move forward with this. I know it may take funding if we decide to go that direction. It may not if we decide to go within a department head, but definitely we have been heavily involved in this, and want to make sure that we don't take it lightly. And we're excited, and we appreciate you guys, the task force, and the council. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Kat, for everything, and to the committee, the task force. Thank you so very much for taking time and everything out of your life, disrupting your schedules with your children and work schedules and everything else. We really, really appreciate that as a council. So if there any more questions or discussions on this? If not, could I have a motion?
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the recommendations from the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force.
Can I
I will
have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. Or is there any more discussions on anything? Okay. Brooke?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. And thank you again for everything that you have done for the city and putting your time and effort in and juggling your schedules. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we will now go on to the mayor's report. And Mayor Hales.
Thanks. Any questions for us, for the administration? I'll have Tammy come up and answer your questions. No? Okay.
I don't.
No.
I can't think of anything.
City Hall's coming along great. It's really moving along, and I think we're thinking it probably might. Tammy doesn't like to hear this, but it might not. She said she's moving in February, so I don't know where she's going to sit, but we'll hopefully have a seat. So, but we're hoping by April. I'm going to say April. That it felt like it might be a little later than we thought. It's probably on time, but we were thinking it was going to be February, but I think it's going to be April. So, but there's always things going on, but Doug has done a great job. He's heavily involved with everyone involved, the architects, the developers, the MoCA. What's their? Tell me what their. I know they've saved us a lot of money, but Doug, what is it? What do they do? MoCA. I know, but they're a. Well, you're a lot of help, Doug. Thanks. Are they a consulting? Is that what they do? Owner representatives. Okay, look, Doug's looking at me, going like, I don't know what to say. What do you want me to say, Brad? Anyway, so it's moving along. So that I just thought I'd keep you updated on that.
I would appreciate it if it could be done in March for my birthday. Oh, goodness. Thank you. Is there any questions for the mayor from the council?
I just have a comment about Vine Street. It's done. I mean, almost just a little bit left, but it's just our staff has done a wonderful job, and I get compliments all the time. I mean, it's worked out really well. So, whoever has been involved in it, thank you so much, because it's worked out well, and it's going to be such a positive thing for our city, even though there were lots of questions, but it's turned out great. So I just wanted to let you know, yeah, we're very lucky.
Thanks, Dan. There's been a lot of people involved. Now Russ gets to take ownership of that, but I'd like to say I got it done, but that wasn't me. But it's beautiful up there, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And Chris has done an amazing job. So, yeah, I told him he's a rock star in our neighborhood. So, anyway, yeah, thanks.
Okay, so if there are no objections, we are adjourned for this evening. Thank you for coming out.